Well, good evening. Glad you could join us here on TV47 Weekend. My name is Musa Salah. We have a lot lined up for you, but first, the top stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, interviews to replace former CJ David Maraga kick off tomorrow.
We invited people to come and give us their views on the kind of candidate that they want, the kind of CJ they expect for this country.
10 candidates will face the Judicial Service Commission's panel with the hope of becoming Kenya's next Chief Justice. Also tonight, President Samia Suluhu is out of Tanzania. Her first stop Uganda as she tries to revive Tanzania's relationship with the region. And a section of church leaders want the COVID-19 containment measures relaxed to allow in-person worship.
Tumeomba ili Mungu asikie na arejeshe sauti ya nabii ili nabii asikike tena na kanisa likafunguliwe.
Welcome to the broadcast. Mini Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. TV47 Weekend begins right now. The Judicial Service Commission is set to kick off interviews for shortlisted candidates for the position of Chief Justice tomorrow. First to face the panel will be Justice Chitembwe Said Juma. 10 candidates have been shortlisted for interviews that will last as long as 3 weeks, as Mwangi Maina now reports.
The interviews for Kenya's 16th Chief Justice kicks off Monday morning. Judicial Service Commissioner Professor Olive Mugenda, who happens to be the Vice Chair of JSC, will chair the JSC interviewing panel. Registrar of the Judiciary Ann Amadi cleared the air following uncertainties on who should chair the panel between Professor Olive Mugenda and Acting Chief Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu. Mugenda is listed as a Commissioner Public Representative to JSC, while Mwilu as a Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. A letter references on Article 171(2) and Section 5(4) of the Judicial Service Act states that the CJ is the chair of the JSC, and in the absence of a CJ, the DCJ shall act as CJ for a period not exceeding 6 months. Amadi, who doubles up as a Commission Secretary, announced that all 10 commissioners will be present during the interviews for all the 10 candidates.
As we did last time, remember when the Chief Justice is not there, then he is not there. So last time we had the Vice Chair chairing the interviews, and that is what is going to happen this time. So all the commissioners will sit at the interviews. On the issue of the commissioner sitting, as I said, all of them are sitting unless something happens. Anything could happen, but for now, every commissioner is going to be participating.
Chitembe Said Juma will be the first interviewee Monday morning, followed by Patricia Gathiru Mbote on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, Justice Martha Koome Karambu will face the panel. Justice Marete Njagi's day will be on Thursday, while Senior Counsel Philip Murgor will be interviewed on Friday. Justice Ndu Manderi will be interviewed on Monday the 19th, while Senior Counsel Fred Gatia will be interviewed on the 20th. Court of Appeal President William Ouko will be interviewed on Wednesday the 21st, while Dr. Wekesa Moni and Neano Alice will be interviewed on 22nd and 23rd respectively. All the interviews will kick off at 9 a.m.
We invited people to come and give us their views on the kind of candidate that they want, the kind of CJ they expect for this country. So they all came and gave their views to the Commission, indicating the kind of person that they want to see. They said that we want a Chief Justice who has integrity, a Chief Justice who will give jurisprudential leadership to the judiciary. We want a Chief Justice who is able to work with various kinds of people and so forth.
It will be the first time these interviews are conducted outside a boardroom setting. This time around, the interviews taking place in a tent within the Chief Justice Gardens outside the Supreme Court. This is in strict adherence to Ministry of Health protocols in regard to COVID-19. In the next 18 days, the Judicial Service Commission will have gotten the ideal candidate to fit in the shoes of former Chief Justice David Maraga. They are expected to forward the name to President Uhuru Kenyatta in 7 days, who will in turn forward the name to Parliament for vetting. Mwangi Maina, TV47 from the Supreme Court, Nairobi.
Well, thank you, Mwangi Maina, for that report. 10 candidates out of the 13 who applied to succeed retired Chief Justice David Maraga have been shortlisted for interviews scheduled to begin tomorrow morning. Although the 10 are known legal practitioners, with most of them showing at least 30 years of experience in the field, Supreme Court judges have kept off the coveted seat. But the fate of the 10 is in limbo following 2 petitions at the Supreme Court that question the legality of Professor Olive Mogenda leading the Judicial Service Commission in a move that has largely been seen as kicking out Acting Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu.
The official robes of the Chief Justice are being taken off.
The derobing of David Kenani Maraga as the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court on his birthday on the 12th of January this year to mark his retirement upon the attainment of the maximum age of 70 years signaled the beginning of the search for his successor.
This is the third transition we are having since 2010 Constitution.
A week later, the Judicial Service Commission gazetted the vacancy in the CJ's office, asking interested candidates to submit their applications to the JSC by the 10th of February. In the vacancy notice, applicants should be, among others, hold at least a degree from a recognized university, be an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, or at least have over 15 years of experience as a Superior Court judge. Applicants are also required to have at least 15 years of experience as a distinguished academic, judicial officer, or legal practitioner.
He has worked.
The coveted seat has attracted at least 13 applicants, among them 5 judges, with Supreme Court judges including Acting Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu giving the job a wide berth. Legal minds, however, argue that having worked with Maraga for years, Supreme Court judges would be best placed to ascend to the office.
We have all these issues to do with BBI, the anticipated referendum, already very many cases and issues before the judiciary and the Supreme Court, and most likely many will end up there. And also, just a few months, almost closing in on 12 months to the general election.
Headed straight into an election next year would actually put most of them in the spotlight. And if you remember, the assurances that even the president, the head of state, has made before that we shall revisit. I don't think that revisiting is a very good idea. It's a very good experience for most of them.
Out of the 13 who applied to succeed Maraga, only 10 have been shortlisted for a series of interviews set to begin tomorrow. The 10 include Justice Said Chitembwe, Professor Patricia Mbote, Lady Justice Martha Koome, Justice Marete Njagi, Senior Counsel Philip Murgor, Justice Nduma Nderi, Senior Counsel Fred Ngatia, Justice William Ouko, Dr. Wekesa Moni, and Ali Siano. Born in 1961 in Siaya County, Justice Ouko was appointed President of the Court of Appeal in 2018, having served as Judge of the High Court between 2004 to 2012, before he was promoted to Judge of the Court of Appeal in 2012. His over 33 years of experience in law gives him an edge over the rest of the candidates. But his counterpart, Lady Justice Martha Koome, who was appointed Judge of the Court of Appeal in 2012, also brings to the table a similar experience of over 33 years, having served as a High Court judge between 2003 to 2011. She holds a Master's of Law degree from the University of London and a Bachelor's degree from the University of Nairobi. Koome has been fighting for children's rights in the country. Born in 1967 in Kwale County, Justice Chitembwe has 29 years of experience in law in a long career that began when he completed his Masters of Law from University of Essex in 1994. Chitembwe worked at the NSSF between 2003 to 2009 before he was appointed as a High Court judge. Justices Marete Njagi and Nduma Nderi also bring to the table over 30 years of experience, both currently serving as judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, a position they ascended to in 2012. However, Justice Nderi has also served in Swaziland as senior counsel in the Ministry of Justice, as well as president of the Industrial Court of Swaziland. Senior counsel Fred Ngatia is also eyeing the CJ's position. Born 64 years ago in Laikipia County, Ngatia holds 2 master's degrees and an aggregate of 41 years of experience in the legal profession. Should he be successful in the interview, Ngatia will become the second CJ to be appointed from outside the judiciary after former CJ Dr. Willie Mutunga.
The other good thing is none of the sitting judges has applied for this position. So we are likely to get somebody now coming from outside. And I think we are going to get a situation where the already sitting judges, the already in-post judges, will also support the new one. Because, if he comes and he finds like he's seen as a stranger, that's another problem now. The issue of settling and being accepted, appreciated by the colleagues who are already there, and not being seen as being embossed on that position.
Retired Chief Justice David Maraga's term was marked largely by a vicious acrimony with President Uhuru Kenyatta-led executive. The judiciary executive standoff began in 2017 when the Supreme Court nullified the 2017 general election in which President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto were declared winners.
It is on record that the president threatened to revisit. And the following financial year, we saw a reduction of the development vote of the judiciary budget from 2.1 billion to a paltry 50 million.
Maraga openly admitted to have failed to secure an appointment with the president, blaming Kenyatta for refusing to appoint 41 High Court judges.
It is important to clearly and categorically state that this shortage of judges and the near paralysis of court operations has been caused by the president's refusal to swear in the 41 judges recommended by the Judicial Service Commission in July 2019 for appointment to the Court of Appeal, the Environment and Land Court, and the Employment and Labor Relations Court. The President has persisted in this refusal despite orders in 2 cases requiring him to swear those judges within 14 days.
Senior counsel Philip Murgor is also among the 10. Born 60 years ago in Elgeyo Marakwet, Murgor has served as the Director of Public Prosecutions between 2003 to 2005. Murgor, however, wants acting CJ Philomena Mwilu to disqualify herself from the interviewing process for both the CJ and judge of the Supreme Court positions. In a letter to the JSC, responding to President Nelson Havi's memorandum on him being unfit for the position, Murgor says there is a client-advocate relationship between Mwilu and Havi. Although the next Supreme Court president is expected to bridge these differences, former Director of Public Prosecutions Senior Counsel Philip Murgor claims Maraga scored fairly good at maintaining the rule of law and constitutionalism, but lacked diplomatic skills he believes he has to get the job done. He holds a Master's of Law from the University of Nairobi and has mostly dedicated his career to private practice, although he worked in the Office of the Attorney General as a state counsel in 1986 to 1992.
We will expect a continuation of the same without singing the tune of the executive nor parliament. Although there is the separation of powers, checks and balances, according to the doctrine of the separation of powers, checks and balances, it is clear how the executive checks the judiciary, how the parliament checks the judiciary, how judiciary also provides checks and balances to the parliament. For example, if parliament makes obsolete laws, the judiciary nullifies those laws.
This talk about independence of judiciary, it has always been a topical issue all through during Maraga's tenure. And I think it's going to continue again. And I think what we need is somebody who would appreciate that judiciary is independent, but there's a bit of interdependence.
But with the CJ selection process expected to begin on Monday, a storm is brewing in the JSC. A letter by Thukwe Njiru advocates on behalf of Samuel Gateri Wanjiru and a petition at the High Court by petitioners Philip Mushiri and Damaris Ndirangu has threatened to momentarily stop the search for the next Chief Justice. According to the letter, the JSC has indicated that Professor Olive Mugenda will act as the interim vice chair of the commission and Justice Philomena Mwelu as a commissioner and acting chief justice. Gateri further claims that there is a ploy by the commission to designate the interim vice chair to be the chairperson, while there is already an acting CJ who, according to Article 171, Section 5 of the Constitution, should be the chairperson of the commission. Gateri therefore claims that Mwelu ought to be the chair of the commission and gave the JSC a 72-hour ultimatum to update the office of the chairperson of the commission is not designated to the vice chair but the acting chief justice. This comes after former JSC Vice Chair Dr. Mercy Ndeche and an advocate of the High Court who was the acting chairperson after the retirement of CJ Maraga left the commission. But this letter is not the legal suit that may cripple the quest for Maraga's successor. Two petitioners have also filed a petition at the High Court arguing that Mugenda is currently a state officer serving as a commissioner of the JSC and chairperson of the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital. The petitioners have accused Mugenda of serving in two distinct state office positions, saying she's perpetuating an illegality warranting her removal. Well, it's time to take a short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections.
As the salvos enter too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5-year term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
that part so that I don't
As we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Owning a home is a keystone to wealth. And building one can be quite daunting. Well, the Realtor gives you the do's and don'ts.
There are so many brokers in the market who just want to tell you I can be able to supply.
And groundbreaking.
So we clear the area and we set out the place where the house is going to be laid down.
We talk homes, land, and property.
With me, Karanzi Daniel.
Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Next episode of Coffee with the Movie.
But today I'm with Bamboo, the African band too.
funny how the enemy uses ladies a lot.
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah. His statue, it looked like the angel of death or something like that, with a black robe and a skeleton and it's holding a pole.
Yeah.
With it's a sickle. It's
Catch this story every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Keep talking to us on all our social media platforms at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47KE on Twitter. The hashtag to use is TV47 Weekend. Now, moving on, Tanzanian President Samia Suluhu is on an official visit to Uganda in what experts say is an effort by Tanzania to foster good relations with its neighbors. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni says Samia's visit was to conclude the agreement for the East African crude oil pipeline tripartite project, as Sharon Baranga now reports.
Earlier today, the convoy of Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu arrived at Entebbe State House in Uganda, where she was received by President Yoweri Museveni. This is Suluhu's first international trip since she took oath of office as president. She then inspected the parade before she had a closed-door meeting with Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni. Museveni says Suluhu's visit had two agendas: to strengthen relations between the two countries and to conclude the agreement for the East African crude oil pipeline tripartite project. Yesterday, Kenya's Sport Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed was in Tanzania, where she met Suluhu. Amina conveyed President Uhuru Kenyatta's message. The two leaders then spoke at length on how to strengthen relations between Kenya and Tanzania, as well as how the two countries can work together to develop their economies. Meanwhile, Suluhu wants ministers and experts of Kenya and Tanzania, who are part of the Joint Permanent Commission JPC, who have never met since 2016, to do so immediately so as to discuss ways the relations between the two countries can be fostered. President Uhuru has invited President Suluhu for an official visit in Kenya. President Suluhu was in a mask during her visit to Uganda, just days after she announced plans to form a committee to advise her government on COVID-19. Former President John Magufuli rarely traveled outside Tanzania in his 6 years as president. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Now, church leaders from Kajiado County today took a rather dramatic measure in what they termed as an abnormal way to cry out to God to intervene in the third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, which continues to claim the lives of many Kenyans. The leaders wore sackcloths as a sign of repentance and prayer for the nation, and called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to declare national prayers as a way to return to God. Ruth Mulandi with that story.
Residents of Kajiado town were treated to an unfamiliar scene on Sunday morning by their church leaders. It was not more of the prayers that might have puzzled many, but the attire the leaders chose.
Na pia katika maandiko inasema hivi ya kwamba tuvae magunia na tuomboleze na tumuite Mungu. Tutakapofanya hivyo atatusikia.
These leaders were dressed in sacks as they went around the town praying to God to intervene during these tough times of the COVID-19 pandemic. The leaders urged their faithful to turn to God even as they face hard times, further questioning why the churches had been shut down, as this was the time that various religions needed to turn to their makers for strength and nourishment of the spirit.
Ukiona kanisa limerudishiwa mlango na nabii sauti yake limezimwa, mbingu inanyamaza. Na tungesema siku ya leo, ama tumekuja kwa Mungu, ama tumeomba ili Mungu asikie na arejeshe sauti ya nabii, ili nabii asikike tena na kanisa likafunguliwe.
Elsewhere, religious leaders in Nakuru are calling on President Uhuru Kenyatta to ease the restrictions placed on places of worship and allow limited congregational worship, as it was important that the communities gathered together in prayer for the nation against COVID-19.
Ningependa tu kuomba serikali tuendelee kuruhusu kanisa na misikiti kufanya kazi yao ya maombi, maana ni maombi nchi hii inahitaji. Tunahitaji maombi zaidi kuliko hata madawa na vitu vingine. Licha ya kuwa madawa yatatusaidia na hizo chanjo zinasaidia, lakini ninaomba wa Kenya turudie Mungu wetu kwa maombi, kuomba na kutubu. Mungu ataponya nchi hii.
With fears allayed on the congestion in churches, the leaders asked that the markets be taken into consideration as they too were a hub for the deadly virus.
Chunguzi atifungwe, maana sote tunajua tunahitaji chakula, lakini watafutiwe nafasi kubwa kuliko ile sasa walio nayo.
And some only offering a silver lining at the end of the tunnel.
There is no situation that has no expiry date. Even COVID-19 and its catastrophes and phenomena that has come along, I want to let you assured of this one thing: it is going to come to an end.
Ruth Mulandi, TV47.
Now, Kandara Residents Association Chairman Philip Njuguna, popularly known as PMG Kamau Ruth, has died. Njuguna died of COVID-19 related complications at Nairobi Women Hospital in Ongata Rongai, where he had been placed in ICU for 2 weeks. He will be remembered for his vibrancy in fighting for the rights of the people of Kandara. Until his death, Njuguna had been surviving on one kidney since 2007.
Thank you, Rinda, and I appreciate our teacher for his comments. He has touched on some things that that this country has experienced. But you realize tribalism is an emotional experience.
Yes.
Tribalism is also sentimentalism. It is also a spiritual endowment, which you can never get away. And the readers create choruses for us, but they call the tune. That's why I'm saying, how significant, you know something, reader, why I like the BBI?
Right.
If you look at the 9-point agenda, it tries to solve the problems of 1963 to date.
May his soul rest in peace. Now, residents of Baringo have started commercial growing of sorghum in a bid to improve food security in the county. The farmers have improved their farming methods away from the traditional ways where they would integrate the crop with maize crops to prevent destruction by birds.
Farmers in Baringo County are now embracing sorghum farming as a subsistence and commercial crop. Previously, farmers would integrate sorghum with maize to prevent crop destruction from birds, as they would eat sorghum and leave out maize.
Kweli kwa zamani tulikuwa napanda hii sorghum tukitarajia ituchungie mahindi kwa shamba. So wakati huu sasa ndio tumeelewa kwamba kumbe hii ni chakula tena.
Since the introduction of sorghum farming, farmers from Kerio, Kabarnet and Mogotio areas say they are optimistic of good returns. Besides sorghum, the stalks are used as livestock feeds and promote poultry farming due to the availability of food.
Here we expect, in the 16 acres, we are expecting an average of 8 bags per acre, which will actually give us some good returns in compared to other crops.
The farmers further noted that the produce is used by brewing companies in making beer, thus offering ready and reliable markets. One of the farmers, Alphonse Kipchumba, has lauded sorghum farming, urging other farmers to embrace it in large scale.
Watu wengi wao wanatarajia alikuwa hauni kama ni amani, lakini sisi tulichukua hii vitu kwa sababu haina gharama mingi na inakuja na ikiiva inaiva once. Bali tu tunaona changamoto yake itaweza kuwa ni ndege.
The farmers now say there is need for training on sorghum production and harvesting since it is a completely new method of farming for most of them. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
Well, thank you, Andrin Kilemi, for that report. The body of a traffic police officer who was killed by her husband last week, Pauline Wakasa, has been laid to rest at a rural home in Masaha Village, Malava constituency. Police officers drawn from Kilimani Station eulogized Pauline as a dedicated officer who was dedicated in seeing through her work. She was accorded gunshots in her, or rather, a gun owner. Pauline was allegedly killed by her husband in her house by Nairobi's Ruaraka estate days after she moved out of her marriage. Her husband, who was attached to the VIP unit at the Ministry of Interior, shot himself dead.
Tangu wa kwanza amekuwa tegemeo na imekuwa challenge pia kwa familia mbili. Tuliweza kuongea tukiwa mochari Nairobi na tukaelewana kidogo, lakini pato iko pending issues ambazo tutaongea baadaye. Mambo ya watoto wachukuu yangu walikuwa wakuja wasike mama yao, lakini wataita walisema tungoje. Waliniahidi watakuja leo, but hawajaonekana. Kwa hivyo nikimaliza hii shughuli ya matanga tafuatilia hiyo maneno.
Sababu kama mko na uwezo kupata wahalifu, mko na uwezo kupata watu wachanga, kuleta watoto mtashinda kweli. Kwa hivyo watoto wa marehemu wakuja hapa ili washuhudie vile mama amezikwa. Najua polisi wako na guiding and counseling, lakini nafikiri itabidi tuweke kasi kidogo sababu hizi cases zimekuwa mingi.
Ninasema pole sana kwa familia, na kile ningependa kusisitiza ni kwamba kile kitengo cha guiding and counseling watilia mkazo sana aswa kwa hizi familia ambazo ni changa.
Service has suffered the loss of an officer who was well disciplined, committed to serving the public. She will be greatly missed by your children, relatives, friends, colleagues in the Kenya Police Service.
Well, it's time to take another short commercial break, but we'll be back with more. Remember, you can follow this live broadcast on www.tv47.co.ke.
As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections,
as the salvos enter too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this: are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
that part so that I don't
As we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
over time I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Owning a home is a keystone to wealth. And building one can be quite daunting. Well, the realtor gives you the do's and don'ts.
There are so many brokers in the market who just want to tell you I can be able to supply.
And groundbreaking.
So we clear the area and we set out the place where the house is going to be laid down.
We talk homes, land and property.
With me, Karanzi Daniel.
Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Next episode of Coffee with the Movie.
But today I'm with Bamboo, the African band too.
Funny how the enemy uses ladies a lot.
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah. His statue, it looked like the angel of death or something like that, with a black robe and a skeleton and it's holding a pole.
Yeah.
With it's a sickle. It's
Catch this story every Sunday at 8 p.m. They live among us.
You're not the person in charge. God is in charge.
The only disability is a bad attitude.
Yeah.
They are part of us.
Vision impairment has never made a barrier towards achieving my dream.
Persons with disability are not limited. Society is...
Welcome back. You're watching TV47 Weekend. Now, Bahati Member of Parliament Kimani Ngunjiri has dismissed a possible formation of alliance between Deputy President William Ruto linked to United Democratic Alliance UDA and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's ODM party. Addressing media in Nakuru, the legislator accused the former Prime Minister of having a history of creating havoc in any political formation. Ngunjiri, who is a close ally of DP Ruto, maintained that UDA is well on course towards 2022 and will not allow such an alliance.
What I'm hearing people saying is like, we have joined with the ODM. No. I repeat, no. We have not joined with the ODM anywhere. We cannot agree to join the party ile ya ODM ambaye imekuwa miaka yake yote ni divorce. Kama umeoa bibi saba ukitupa, ni bibi mbaya ama ni bwana mbaya? Hiyo nilisema hata Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, my brother, my president. Nikasema hata huyu Raila Odinga, baada ya kukosa na hiyo hata wewe hamutawezana. Already you have seen. There's a difference. Wameanza kupiga Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Wameanza kuangalia mambo ya interest zao. Wanaanza kukatana na mambo ya BBI hata kwa sababu ya ile viti 70 was created and what they have started now fighting. So we cannot join together. Na watu wasione kama Raila Odinga anaenda kukosana na Uhuru ni kama anakuja kwetu. No. We are not together. We are going to remain united. Lakini we are open for anybody who can come with a good mind. Lakini si akuja na koni ati tuungane chama. Na hiyo ndio nikataka tena kurudia. Nimesikia watu wakizungumza mambo ya Oparanya. People are talking about Oparanya. Yes. Oparanya has met with my deputy president 4 times. Not once. 4 times. Na anatafuta pahali ya kujiweka, kutafuta nafasi kwa Hustler Nation. Kila mtu ni kujipanga, my friend. Amekutana na deputy president 4 times. Leave Oparanya. You are talking about Oparanya, one governor.
Now, the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim SUPKEM has appealed to the government to provide relief food to over 1 million Kenyans facing starvation in arid and semi-arid lands, ASAL counties in the country as Ramadan celebrations kick off. Addressing journalists in Nakuru Hotel, SUPKEM Chairman Hassan Olenado decried that the number of starving families in ASAL counties such as Tana River, Wajir, Garissa, Mandera and Isiolo have increased from 700,000 last year to 1 million this year. The holy month of Ramadan is set to kick off Tuesday under the new COVID-19 measures where faithfuls are expected to observe the regulations.
And praying to Almighty Allah for forgiveness and success. Subsequently, during this year's holy month, we call upon Muslim community to offer special prayers of redemption for themselves, our country, and the rest of humanity. SUPKEM take cognizance of the usually unusual difficult circumstances under which this year's fasting will be observed, largely due to the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic. Like last year, this month of Ramadan comes at a time of yet another surge in COVID-19 infection that had led to enhanced containment measures that include lockdown, curfews, and restrictions of public gatherings. Apart from the COVID-19 pandemic, Kenyans in ASAL counties, especially Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Marsabit, Isiolo, and Tana River, are facing severe starvation.
Now, a group of professionals from the Mount Kenya region have started a movement. Ahadi Kenya CEO Stanley Kamau says there has been a rising cases of men engaging in indecent activities that indicate a breakdown in culture. The group organizes camps and counseling forums for boys during holidays and mentors them as they go through circumcision. The mentorship's objective is to familiarize young men with the cultural upbringing of the Agikuyu community that will enable them to handle the pitfalls facing youth.
Young men who have actually undergone the circumcision, but more importantly is that apart from them undergoing that ritual, we have been able to educate them, train them. We have educated them on how to be responsible, how to be respectful to the society, how to be able to be the ones who are providing. We have seen cases where the young men are actually looking for rich old women to support them and to be with them and to take care of them. But ours is very, very different because what we are teaching these young men, as I've said, is to be responsible, to be able to offer security to this country, not only to this country, but more importantly to respect the women of this nation, to respect them and take care of their sisters, their mothers, their aunties, and all the women of this country.
Well, keep talking to us on all our social media platforms at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47 KE on Twitter. Let's just going through some of your comments on Facebook. Amos Wamoka Barasa says he's locked in and watching us from all the way from Jubaland. Josephat Sumba says he's from Nairobi, Kenya, Pipeline. Eunice Adhiambo Muchoki Wawaya says he's watching us all the way from Thika. Thank you. Keep talking to us across all our social media platforms, again at TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as at TV47 KE on Twitter. As the Ministry of Agriculture moves in to implement the Irish Potato Regulations 2019 in what they say is a move to benefit those involved in its value chain, the unit package of 50 kilograms bags continue to draw mixed reactions from farmers and businessmen in the chain across the country.
Following the economic position and food security that potato farming give to the country, the Ministry of Agriculture says it has put the main focus on ensuring that the 2019 Irish Potato Regulations are implemented for the benefit of those involved in value chain, starting with the farmer. The regulations include maximum weight unit package of 50 kilograms bag and not the extended bag that weighs 110 kilograms. growers and dealers of Irish potatoes to use weighing scale that has been inspected by the government's Department of Agriculture at the counties. Crop inspectors have powers to inspect land or premises where the potatoes are and can stop transportation or access and inspect the places used for storage. The inspector shall seize and detain the Irish potato packaged and transported in a manner that does not conform to the requirements of these regulations at the cost of the offender. Any person who contravenes these regulations commits an offence and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 5,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 1 year or both. While launching the strategies to implement these regulations recently in Nairobi, Agriculture CS Peter Munya emphasized on the 50 kilograms bag packaging, saying it is to protect the farmer from being exploited. Munya pointed out the Wakulima market in Nairobi and Kongoya market in Mombasa as the notorious places where packaging illegalities take place. In Kiambu County, potato farmers expressed hope that the regulations will be of great benefits to them.
Wakati watu wanakuja kununua viazi, wanataka kununua viazi na ile magunia makubwa inaunganishwa gunia mbili. Na unaona mtu hata anataka kupanda kwa juu ya stool ili aweze kuweka viazi, na hiyo viazi vile ananunua, unaona mkulima hana mapato hata kidogo anapata.
Tunapata mapato kidogo sana kulingana na zile gunia viazi inapakiwa. So tungeuliza serikali tusaidie na hizi gunia za kilo 50 na bei yake ili angalau tupate kitu kidogo tu ya kutusaidia.
In Nakuru County, farmers claim that they have not seen any implementation going on and are wondering on where this takes place as they continue to feel exploited through extended packaging.
Kuna hii sheria ambayo iliambiwa ati ya kupima viazi kilo 50. Hii ni story tu tunasikia ati ya kwamba kuna hizi viazi zinapimwa kilo 50.
Tunaumia sana kwa sababu hizi sheria ambazo zinawekwa juu ya kupima viazi ni kama hadithi tu tunasikia, lakini hapa kwetu hatujaona hiyo sheria ikisitizwa zaidi.
The situation looked normal at the Nairobi's Wakulima market, with the packaging as extended sacks of potatoes can be seen either parked on vehicles or as pulled by the carts around. But in Mombasa, businessmen have firmly expressed that the 50 kg packaging regulations cannot work for them, saying the government does not understand the potato business dynamics.
Kilo 50 inafaa kuwekwa kwa vitu kama mahindi ama vitu zingine, lakini sasa kuuzaji wa viazi kilo 50 haiwezi. Maana katika mambo ya transportation pia kile kilo 50 inakuwa ngumu kubeba kile kiwango ambacho
hata kama watu vile inaanza hivi tu wanasema kilo 50 watu wasone kilo 50, lakini sisi ni wakulima ndio huwa sasa waache sisi ni wakulima tuelewane.
The implementation of the 50 kg package regulation still remains an uphill task for the government.
Now, starting 15th of April this year, anyone traveling to Ireland from Kenya will be subjected to mandatory hotel quarantine. The arrangement also applies to any passenger transiting through the country. The passengers are expected to pre-book a hotel for their quarantine in advance. Well, let's now take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. And Nairobi City Stars defender Wesley Onguso has decried the second ban on sporting activities as a way to contain the spread of COVID-19. Onguso, who runs a border business to sustain himself and supplement his income, notes that the sports persons have been boxed into the corner following the loss of livelihoods, with some having to forgo their meals.
Tumetoka kwa lockdown, tumekawia like 3 months tukiwa active, at least vitu zilikuwa zimeanza kuflow kiasi, so unataka tumerudi kwa giza, ni kama mtu